Welcome to the Daily Edge. Steve, Jake, Marc, we are the Nudelbergs, and today we are going to be debating what is successful leadership. We're going to be talking about Coach Pop's retirement and sharing stories about leaders who have helped develop us and others. Let's find our edge that starts with the affirmation. Leadership isn't about how many follow you. It's about how many you develop who can lead others. The question of the day, what makes you a successful leader? Accolades or people?
And I say it depends on who's asking.
Okay.
I mean, is it a personal question?
Circumstantial?
Are you being reflective? Or are you looking for outside, somebody on the outside to
Results
say?
matter.
Yes.
Results matter.
No, but
I think
you can't be a successful leader with all failure, right?
Well, I think if you separate it between independent or individual accomplishments and team accomplishments, you might start getting somewhere different, right? Like, do you need to have individual to lead a sales team? Do you have to have a bunch of sales?
Yeah.
Well, so this is all right. So let's put context around it in two forms:
right.
business
Otherwise,
and
it's failure.
Well, hold on. Business and sports.
Not
here.
necessarily.
Gregg Popovich, retiring, right? Massive amounts of accolades. Forget it. Coach of the year, championships.
Well, I think not even only Gregg
teams.
Popovich, CEO Berk Hathaway also
Correct. Warren Buffett would be his name. Also retiring at the end of 2025.
95.
Right?
Yeah.
Both those guys, unbelievable accolades. Popovich also has a ridiculous coaching tree in terms of people he has developed that have gone on to lead other organizations. So he checks both the boxes. You ask the question, if in order to be a good sales manager, do you have to have a lot of sales? When you say you, do you mean the manager or do you mean the team?
No, I mean the individual personal person to be the leader. Do you have to have individual success to then lead people?
Absolutely
you do not.
Correct.
So there are teachers and there are hunters.
So when you talk about accolades, I think you can galvanize a team without being a really good basketball player.
Correct.
Like, Gregg,
you guys
Coach K didn't need to be the best basketball player to be the best, basketball coach.
But it's different accolades.
Well, hold on. So when I mean accolades, I mean you have to have wins, right? Not have necessarily done it yourself, but in terms of being a leader, your team has to have had success. You have to have grown the team, grown the business, whatever context we want to use that the leadership, identity inside of. There's got to be wins there, but if all you did your entire career was win and nobody was actually better for it, does that make you a successful leader?
Well, what do you mean nobody? Do you mean the actual players or do you mean the coaches that you
staff,
developed?
Everybody that you're involved with.
Because one can argue Nick Saban didn't develop enough people of success. That most of his guys got there and ultimately
did not do well. Yes.
Actually,
there's a large number of people that have come from his staff that did not do well. There's also a fair number now that are doing well. So
if
not
Popovich,
as head coaches, though. I think it's fair
early
to say.
in his career didn't have other coaches and players really love playing for him, right? He would not have become the guy that he was. He wouldn't have had the chance. The fact is, he was wildly respected by his peers, and to me, that is the number one metric. We are well respected in the training and development space because people know we know our shit and we know what we do may not be their style.
Well, I think if you want to be successful as any leader, you got to have some organizational structure, right? Or belief system in the way that you develop people, the way that you talk to people. There has to be a system. In order for there to be actual development, there has to be a repeatable system, which is why every person who has come in contact with Pop has either been successful, has that relationship with him, has that personal thing. Like I know Draymond Green was talking about it. He goes, I'm going to miss seeing him before the game.
Yeah.
And miss seeing the conversations that we had before the game. And I think there are those rare few people where you have an impact on others, no matter what your actual role is on them. And there are those certain people that you talk to, and every time you talk to them, you're like, I just feel like I got hit with a bolt, right? And I think Pop was one of those guys in the NBA that didn't matter who was talking to him, you got something out of it.
So I'll throw this in there. His ability to change. He coached a really long time. Basketball's a completely different game now than it was.
International
but,
players.
His teams were not good three-pointing shooting teams. He then won a championship with guys that shot three-pointers. He did not embrace the European athletes, coming in. All this, he embraced that. So his ability to be open to new ideas, to innovate, he did. He was the first female.
Well, when you look at, so he's developed Steve Kerr, Ime Udoka, Becky Hammon, Mike Budenholzer would be like the 4 top names in basketball right now that he gets credit for coming out.
What about Mike Brown?
What's super cool about that, just not listed in his, I think they're the most relevant.
Okay.
I think they're most relevant,
Today.
right? Today, today's names.
Okay.
What's really interesting about that is you have a black guy, you have a woman, right? And then you got 2 other white guys, which okay, you get, they don't get a lot of credit for that, but he put a woman and pushed everybody, pushed authority, pushed the leagues, pushed everybody to be like, this is as qualified as anybody there is for the role. She deserves to get a shot. And I'm going to use my platform to do that. I think what's really interesting is that he probably didn't coach everybody the same way.
Which Pete Carroll,
the standard never changed, right? The standard never changed, but he found a way to connect with people that were vastly different.
There was a question that was asked to Pete Carroll, and he answered it, do you coach everybody the same or equal? No, I don't do it equal. I do it fair.
But I also
fair for them,
fairly,
not equal.
Fairly, not equal.
Reverse that for the coach, though. Like, not all coaches are created equal or treated equal, right? You have to earn the right to be able to do the things that you do. You have to earn the right to be able to sit at the mic and talk freely about social issues. You have to earn the right to sit there and say, hey, I'm putting Becky Hammon in this role. Like, no one else gets to tell me that Becky Hammon doesn't
but
become
he was afforded that luxury.
He was afforded that because he won, though.
Yeah,
and so when we get back to that, right, when you talk about is it accolades or is it the people, you got to kind of earn the equity in order to stay there to develop the people, right? And there has to be some sort of success in your fight. You have to have the system and you have to have the success first in order for you to show other people on how to get to the promised land. I think you have to have the roadmap and then share it with the others, which is what he did, where I think Saban had it, but Saban, and to get back to your point where you say, I think he talked to people differently. Like, I think Saban talked to everybody the exact same way. So he was never developing people rather than showing. And then when they got to that role, they were like, well, I'm just going to be Nick.
Right.
I'm just going to be Saban. I'm going to yell.
It's all they knew.
I'm going to jump. And then you are not actually Saban. Whereas I don't think Becky Hammon tries to be Pop. And I think Pop pushes each person to be their individual.
So like, all right, I'll use this as an example because this is close to home. Jimbo Fisher, right? Mm-hmm. Jimbo Fisher skyrocketed to the top of college football at Florida State because we put together some really great recruiting classes and won a national championship. But that thing fell as fast as it grew. And so is he a successful leader, right? Like he got to the pinnacle, he won a championship, but there is nobody who gets credited with being a part of his coaching tree in college football. And there is no repeat performance to his success. He was never able to replicate it again and is now out of the sport. Is he a successful leader?
Yes.
Wow.
Sustained success, maybe not, but to climb the mountain and say that somebody didn't climb the mountain is silly to me. Like you are.
I mean, the guy did it. You can't take it away from him.
I'm gonna use a controversial phrase right now. Is he a flash in the pan?
Well, sure,
it wasn't
but success is success. Right. I don't like those are two different conversations.
We're not talking about success of accolades. The question for the show is: are you a successful leader because you won one time?
1,000%.
Wow.
Well, I don't know that I
disagree
with that
100%
because it wasn't It was a circumstance, not a reality.
You were
right.
Okay, if you're talking about a time period for the of your whole entire life, you wrote that I developed. Okay, hold on. Are we talking of leaders in only the development of the other coaches on staff?
This is what we're debating
Because if
right
he's
now.
a leader of war, he won the battle. He won the war.
Sure.
Won the war.
But
That's
then went on to
successful
lose
leader.
many, many more.
Sure, but you're only as. But if you're going to keep climbing
But
on
it
the
fell
horse, you're going to
apart,
lose.
right.
You're going to lose eventually. I don't believe everybody wins forever and ever. And
I mean,
Okay,
would
whoa, whoa,
General
whoa,
Patton be
okay.
considered as successful as he would
Well,
had he not had continued success?
Let's get back to Pop.
successful
Whoa,
generals
let's get back.
are successful for the battles they win.
Let's get
Right.
Even
Which
if they
wins the
stop
war.
being successful.
Let's get back to Pop. Pop was really successful in years that they lost. He was still considered winning
They've
wasn't
been
the
struggling.
metric for him
They got
Yeah.
because there were years that team was really bad, but he was still successful. And for me, that success metric was he really had a good time doing it. He had a great sense of humor. When you talk about Draymond wanting to see him before the game, he was a personality that he never took himself too seriously. He had fun inside the locker room, outside the locker room.
he also got David Robinson and Tim Duncan at the first pick. So like things like are if he doesn't get those two, is he as successful? Are we having a conversation and story about him right now? Maybe
Pat
not.
Riley never
Maybe
won
not.
with Patrick Ewing.
Ultimately, we talk about those guys because they won more.
So again,
Right?
we're getting away from the point. It's not about whether or not you need talent as a leader to win. That's what is being a successful leader? Is it accolades? So if I did it one time, that makes me a successful leader, or is it the development of those people that go on to do more? Okay. So here is a great example. Oprah Winfrey, right? Oprah, massive success, gets credited with Rachel Ray, with Dr. Oz, and countless other successful celebrity personal brands. She took in and said, hey, I'm going to help you do what I did, right? Nick Saban, even though he's got plenty of people who didn't implement it successfully, Jimbo and Jim McElwain, to name two of them. Jeremy Pruitt, another one. I would say Lane Kiffin, a very successful one.
What about
Steve
the dude at
Sarkisian,
Georgia?
A very successful one. Kirby Smart, very successful. So like he was able to, he gets credited. Maybe he didn't, but he gets credited with them being a part of his growth. Are you successful if you're not able to do it for others?
But forever is what you're saying. You can never, as soon as it goes bad, you stop being a good
not
leader.
as soon as it gets bad. There's nobody credited.
I want to talk about in sports specifically, like winning and losing is different than business, right? Very different.
Sure.
Very different.
Sort of.
I mean, winning the national title is very different than being a successful business.
It's more.
I don't know how you compare them.
You get many more opportunities.
You get many more opportunities to be
Right.
successful.
So that's
other
true.
than
Sure.
not being successful in
1,000%.
sports.
But either way, you still either got to
Winning-
hit goals
but
and
that's-
drive
but that's my
revenue and grow
point,
the
is like-
business, or you don't.
It's still
But
process.
Greg Popovich,
Still winning or
let's get
losing,
back.
it's
Greg
still
Popovich
process.
hasn't won anything, a meeting since 2013.
Correct.
2014. Excuse
Correct.
me, and I was very touchy subject.
Correct.
But like has not won
Isn't that
anything.
when they
So
beat the Heat?
has he not been successful over the last 10 years?
No, I think he's very successful as a leader, right? Not necessarily very successful as a
But
head
you just
coach.
said, but hold on.
Well, could you be a successful leader
But as you're
and
losing,
not have
but you're
anybody
losing?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
If you're successful, Jimbo didn't really have anybody.
Jimbo doesn't have anybody credited
Nobody,
to his
zero.
name.
It ended. So if we're just going to boil it down to that question, if you're
Mike Leach never won a national championship. Mike Leach created a lot of head coaches. That's success as a leader, isn't it?
Krzyzewski,
Coach K.
built his replacement.
I don't.
Right.
What's your job as a college football coach?
To win
What's your
championships.
job as an NFL as an NBA basketball coach?
To win.
To win games,
You're
1,000%.
the leader of the organization. It is to win games.
So then the rest is a byproduct.
the rest is a byproduct.
But do you measure that or not? Do you
Right.
just
No,
leave it?
I don't.
Okay, wow.
I think if you talk about if you're talking about it in the actual definition of leadership, is your definition of taking ownership, right? That's yours. Taking ownership of everything in the organization.
No. Our definition of leadership
It's
is taking ownership of your behavior and using it to affect others positively. That's our on-the-ball definition of leadership.
I don't think you can be a good leader if you don't take ownership of the results.
Of course.
right? Like I don't. If you don't
I
have
think it's
results,
fundamental.
I think it's
Right.
fundamental that in order to
right.
be, you have to have results to be a good leader. And that might be a little bit, that might be a lot, but it doesn't matter if you're constantly developing other people. On, I don't know, call it in other departments.
Well, so this is my point that I'm making is that you can win without developing people. You can win in a very short span of time.
Jimbo
you
did.
can have success with really high talent, right? And not develop anybody, not develop a soul.
Yeah.
You could just win beating lesser talent and being more talented and getting a quick fix.
Okay.
Does that make you a successful leader?
So here's another question. It's real time. The Denver coach gets fired at the end of the season, which is very rare. They plug a dude in and they win. Would they have won with the other guy? He was a one and done. They won the championship. He gets fired in the next season. You know, like, did he leave anything behind? I think the question is great.
Right.
I don't think that there's a definitive answer either way. I think it begs for.
I don't think people give a shit how many people you develop. Honestly, I don't. Like in the corporate world, would they rather results or more people that are developed?
Well, I think it speaks to longevity.
Right. Well, so I think, and you know, I don't have. There's a lot of examples here of CEOs that have developed other leaders that have gone on to lead other organizations. Reed Hastings started Netflix, right? Countless people were able to stay inside of Netflix after acquisition. That was able to go on. That's a direct, you know, result of what Reed did inside of that business and investing in the development of the people. My point that I think I want to make is that just because you win games doesn't make you a successful leader. If you are not investing in the people, if you are not investing in the development of the people around you, you may have short-term success, but it will not last and it will not make you a successful leader over the long term of your run because you've got nothing to fall back on.
As successful. You'll find success.
And here's just, I think this is the way I sum it up.
I'm just my answer.
Right.
Putting it down is I would take the results over the people.
Yeah, I think if you're in the front office,
if you're the front office,
so time out. If you're in the front office, right? Yeah. They're not sitting there going,
"I need you to develop the assistant coaches."
But he developed all these
and look
other
at them
people.
going elsewhere to coach elsewhere.
You know, I think they're going to go. He lost.
I need you to win me games. I need you to drive whatever the result is.
So I think the pressure
is we're
comes
driven
first. It's a personal choice as that kind of leader.
Whether you want to bring anybody with
other people, yes.
Whether you want to bring anyone
and I had somebody.
If you invest in the development of people, will you lose?
Yeah,
really,
you can easily.
Well, you
just as
right.
Is Dan Hurley worrying about his assistant coaches or
you're going to create success?
I don't know. About
you're going to create success. You might not win the championship.
I don't know about that. You might not get the opportunity to.
How do you fail by developing by developing people?
How do you fail?
Yeah.
If you're worried about that more than the people that are on the court or on the game or playing the actual sport.
Isn't it all the same?
Yeah, I think we're talking about two different things.
Why?
Here. Because you're talking about leaders developing the people, right? So you're talking about the independent skills of the humans or the people on the court that are actually playing their game.
It's all the same.
I just want you to know. I just want them to know.
If they
it's
don't
impossible
get
for
the
us
results,
to even have lunch together.
If they don't get the results, it doesn't
we don't agree
matter.
on anything.
If they don't get the results, it doesn't matter how good of a developer you are.
That's not I'm asking you the question. Can you not get results by focusing on developing people?
Yes, can you? Yes, absolutely.
Really?
1,000%.
I disagree wholeheartedly.
1,000%. Look at NLI. Look at NLI right now, or NIL, right? They are taking the most ready basketball player, the most ready football player.
Sure.
Let's focus on
You're talking about talent, though.
That's my point.
They still have to come in and then work to get them into the system.
Part of being a great leader is recognizing
you have to
1,000%.
You have to get the team to produce.
So we're not gonna agree on this.
No.
And I'm gonna tell you that the edge for you as a leader is focusing on developing the people around you because that will sustain success. And if you have poor talent in your organization, that's your fault. And you need to recognize them and get poor talent out of your organization.
You should get them out, right? And get the good talent in.
Yeah.
Fact.
That's
But
That's what
if
I
you
mean.
only focus on the results of that good talent, you will have very short-term success, and that will lead to lots of failure throughout your career. That's my stance. Go ahead.
You can take
Jake.
this concept and beat it up in your own circles.
Jake, go ahead. What's your stance?
I wouldn't waste time on worrying about develop people I don't think that can develop. I don't.
You're moving the cheese. I never said that was a point.
I'm just saying I'm going to focus on getting the right guys in the right scene as fast as possible to go win the game.
Can we agree that Popovich was a great coach?
Absolutely.
And he had great players.
Thank you guys for joining us. Wonderful conversation. Let us know what you think a successful leader is in the comments. Remember to like, comment, and share. We'll see you again.